Bienvenue à toutes et à tous pour cette plénière de clôture du Forum Hope. Si vous n'étiez pas présent ce matin, je me présente à nouveau. Je suis Frédérique Bedos, journaliste, fondatrice de l'ONG d'information Le Projet Imagine, et j'ai le privilège d'animer ce bel événement, le premier Forum international de l'enfance. J'espère que les sessions en atelier vous ont apporté des éclairages nouveaux, que vous en ressortez plein d'énergie positive, car le moins que l'on puisse dire, c'est qu'en matière de protection de l'enfance, eh bien, les défis sont nombreux. C'est la raison pour laquelle, en décidant d'intituler ce forum « Hope », l'UNICEF nous montre le chemin. Continuer d'y croire et ne rien lâcher, telle est la voie à suivre. S'il y a bien une personne qui partage à 1000% ce message d'espoir, c'est l'extraordinaire Jane Goodall. En parallèle de son travail scientifique auprès des chimpanzés, qui lui vaut une renommée mondiale, et en parallèle de ses activités de protection de l'environnement, Jane Goodall est engagée pour la jeunesse, et cela depuis des décennies. Il y a un peu plus de 30 ans, c'était en 1991, elle a lancé le mouvement Roots and Shoots, un mouvement d'engagement en faveur de la nature et de la société qui est présent aujourd'hui dans plus de 60 pays à travers le monde. Pour ouvrir cette session de façon magistrale, nous avons le grand privilège de partager avec vous un message spécialement enregistré pour l'UNICEF et ce forum de la part du Dr Jane Goodall, fondatrice du Jane Goodall Institute et ambassadrice de l'ONU pour la paix. On l'écoute.
Hello, this is Jane Goodall. I wish I was there with you in person for this important gathering. My spirit is with you. I think every single one of you there knows that our planet is suffering. We face two major threats, that's climate change and loss of biodiversity. We're using up our natural resources in an unsustainable way. Although many are kind of giving up, there are those who want to fight for change. And we see this in the youth demonstrations, more and more youth groups springing up. Young people, when they know the problems and are empowered to take action, are changing the world. It was over 30 years ago that I began the Jane Goodall Institute's environmental and humanitarian program for youth, Roots and Shoots. And it now has members from kindergarten through university in 71 countries, growing fast, and hundreds and thousands of groups, with the main message every single one of us on the planet makes some difference every day. Some can make far more difference because of their situation, but we all make some impact. Roots and Shoots encourages young people to make the best ecological impact that they can every single day. And because everything in nature and around the globe is interrelated, each group of Roots and Shoots, they choose 3 projects, one to help people, one to help animals, one to help the environment. These young people are making a difference, even as I'm speaking to you. We're surrounded in the media and with people talking, politicians, with doom and gloom about everything that's going wrong. And yes, we need to know. But, you know, I travel 300 days a year around the world. So I have the privilege of meeting incredible people doing amazing things and seeing projects that might have seemed impossible. But the people who want to make change don't give up and so often succeed. People say to me all the time, Jane, do you really have hope for the future, seeing all that's gone wrong? Well, I've got 4 main reasons for hope. Number 1 is the young people. Once they understand the problems and they're empowered to act, they are rolling up their sleeves and working hard and making real change. Not just Roots and Shoots, no. There's so many other youth programs, and we try to collaborate so that together we can make an even greater difference. And young people are not only actively planting trees and so on, writing letters to politicians, but they're changing the attitude very often of their parents, their grandparents, their teachers, their friends. And this is making a very big difference. My second reason for hope is the resilience of nature. Nature amazingly resilient. My next reason for hope is the amazing human intellect. Scientists are beginning to come up with ways we can live in greater harmony, like alternative energy. We're realizing the value of trees and other ecosystems for absorbing carbon dioxide. And finally, there's the indomitable human spirit, the people who tackle what seems impossible and just won't give up. And so often they succeed. I wish you an amazingly productive gathering. Again, I wish I was with you, but I'm sure that this will lead to great change. Thank you.
Thank you so much to the Dr. Jane Goodall and to the Jane Goodall Institute France for their support and friendship. Now, let's welcome on stage two leading figures in youth advocacy for UNICEF, who you heard from earlier today. A big round of applause for the UNICEF Goodwill Ambassador Muzoon Almellehan and the UNICEF Youth Advocate for Climate, Kozilati Nyati. Welcome again. Please have a seat. Make yourself comfortable. So great to see you again, Muzoon and Kozilati. You both work closely with youth on a daily basis and are both strongly committed to acting on the ground. Could you share with us what this experience has taught you about youth, but also about engagement?
It's great to be back and welcome back everyone. So definitely it has taught me young people are resilient and full of hope despite the challenges. I have seen this in many places. I have been with UNICEF and also my own experience meeting young people on a daily basis. They are now more willing to take actions and to resolve problems. All of them, they say we don't want to be impacted, but we need to make an impact. Yes, global issues can affect all of us, but we have a role to play, and we want to take those actions to influence policies, even to use small actions to make our world and our globe a better and brighter place to live in.
I like the fact that you say that the young generation can be really agents for change. This is your words.
Yes, definitely. I have no doubt about that because they are so determined to do so. Despite the challenges, I'm not saying young people, they are not facing problems. And we live in such a hard world at the moment. However, their resilience is beyond our expectations. And honestly, I cannot describe how much they inspire me to keep going and to keep using my voice because they realize the challenges, but they know their courage and motivation is greater than that.
Nkosi, what do you want to add?
All right. Thank you for having me. Right. Over the years, I've learned that young people are resilient. Young people are very much adaptable, right? So there are millions of young people rallying behind the need and the call for hope globally, right? So young people are very much adaptable, but most importantly, young people are very much innovative. I tell you, my journey to activism started when I was 10. Just a year after that, I pioneered the establishment of the first functional biogas plant in my hometown, which is actually helping for a feeding scheme in my local school.
And this is really concrete.
Right. So you see that. So young people are very much innovative, and there are brilliant young people out there, millions of young people actually making a difference. Right. So young people are resilient, young people are adaptable. Most importantly, young people are very much innovative. Thank you.
And also there, yeah, you can. Also, I like the fact that you insist on the fact that knowledge is power. Also.
Right. Knowledge is power. It's the background of everything. Thank you.
And about engagement, can you say one word about that?
Well, youth engagement, I usually say nothing for us without us is indeed for us. Yeah.
I love that sentence. I think it's so powerful. This is a motto for us. Nothing, can you just repeat it?
Nothing for us without us is indeed for us.
This is so amazing. So, do you encourage other young people in your communities and around the world to get involved and feel empowered to make a difference?
Yes, definitely. I encourage every young person to take actions because individual actions, if combined, can make a significant impact. We are facing global issues, whether through human rights violations, we have inequalities, climate change, many challenges to access education everywhere. So all of us can play a great role in that, either through volunteering, donating, influencing policies. Even small actions on a daily basis can play a huge role. Sometimes not only the larger advocacy scale, but if small actions are taken, especially by young people, we can really resolve those global issues and the pressing challenges in our time. We need to work with organizations that work towards resolving the problems, either through donations and also volunteering with those organizations and amplifying the message. Also, we can make awareness, and young people, they are the best fit to do something like that, and they have so much power. And as we mentioned earlier, they have resilience, and they are full of ideas. Like their positivity and energy can say a lot about the things they can do, even beyond their expectations. I remember when I started, I was just 14 years old,
yes,
and living in a refugee camp. It is a place where you can give up hope easily. However, I believed in my voice, and they didn't give up about my rights because it is not of my own making, and they deserve to access my rights. That's why I wanted every child and every young person to know that they deserve the best. It is not only basic needs like shelter or food that we need. It is important. However, we deserve to have access to our dreams, to have a brighter future, and definitely once we realize that no one can stand in our way, and we can go and make a global impact, not only on a local level, but everywhere, and sometimes one day we can reach, and that's why I'm standing in front of you today. If I didn't believe in my voice at such a young age, I cannot be Muzoon who's Muzoon today.
And June Cozy.
Definitely. The whole purpose of advocacy, the whole purpose of ambassadorial roles is to inspire young people to act. So definitely, we do encourage young people to act, but even through workshops, whether outreach programs, those community workshops, but most importantly, through putting in the work, because actions do speak louder than words. And one thing that I can tell young people watching right now is that change starts with you.
It's amazing. One aspect that I think is very important, since the COVID-19 pandemic and recent WHO surveys, we are all quite concerned about the mental health of young populations around the world. The work you do can be very intense. Have you found ways to take care of yourselves mentally and emotionally while staying committed?
Definitely, like when you start to play a role, even globally, like what I do to fight for the right of education for every child, I cannot be positive most of the time, and definitely all these challenges can make us give hope easily, and it can seem so daunting, and it is a heavy burden on us. However, for me, I don't take things for granted, and I always look to the positive side. If we give up on what we do and the good things that we offer to the world, then who will be doing that? If everyone will be giving up, then we cannot really resolve any problem. So we must carry on no matter what. For me, definitely, I dedicate my time for myself to either spend time with my family, meeting my friends, and also for me, I find so much peace in my worship, being close to God, and do my my religious duties. That gives me so much peace and power to fight the challenges. It comes time where I feel so much hopeless, but I always remember the younger Muzoon when I was in refugee camps and when I fled my homeland, and I was so strong, and I didn't give up in front or the face of challenges. So that keeps me going on the path and to carry on to use my voice, because yes, things are very hard and the future might seem dark, but I will never lose hope to see a brighter future for every young person and every child everywhere.
If I've well understood, it's quite normal to have ups and downs, but you've got to be very careful not to be isolated, to have the family, the people around you. This is really important. Nkosi, what would you like to say about that? How do you take care of yourself?
Right. So it's very difficult. It's very difficult to be a young person while trying to figure life out, but most importantly, taking a role to speak out for problems which some people deem as normal. Right. So from my own perspective, connecting with my own environment. So I come from a very beautiful city in Zimbabwe called Victoria Falls. We have a very beautiful waterfalls there. Now, connecting with that environment, there we find animals anywhere, right?
Yeah.
Even, right? So they're not like in the zoo or enclosed up. So connecting with that natural environment, you get to disconnect from your reality. You get to disconnect from all your problems, the problems I have as a young person, the family problems and everything. I get to appreciate the nature. But most importantly, it gives me hope and something to really fight for in the future. Thank you.
I like the fact that you say making a positive impact is not a destination, it's a journey. This is wise, don't you think? They're very young, but they're very wise. Really. So thank you so much to both of you for your precious insights, your wonderful energy and resilience. What you're doing is just wonderful. Just before you leave the stage, we wanted to share with you a short video message from another friend of UNICEF in France who was not able to come today, unfortunately. But her name is Paola Locatelli. She's 20, and she has been a volunteer since she was 12. Today, she's also an actress, an author, and she has just written this book, Le cœur engagé, être jeune et contribuer à un monde meilleur. Ladies and gentlemen, let's watch and listen to the message that Paola Locatelli has recorded for us all.
Bonjour à tous, c'est Palash Kanti. Avant toute chose, sachez que j'aurais tellement aimé être là avec vous. Malheureusement, ça n'a pas été possible, mais vous savez à quel point le thème de cette rencontre me tient particulièrement à cœur parce que ça traite de l'engagement. Si vous me connaissez déjà, vous devez sûrement savoir que l'engagement des jeunes est un sujet qui m'anime particulièrement. C'est d'ailleurs le fil conducteur de mon livre Le cœur engagé. Nous vivons dans une époque où notre génération a l'opportunité de se faire entendre et de prendre des décisions qui impactent notre avenir. Mais en même temps, beaucoup d'entre nous se sentent perdus, dépassés et j'irais même dire impuissants face aux défis de la société. Pour ma part, ce qui m'a poussée à m'engager, c'est un profond sentiment d'injustice face aux inégalités sociales. J'ai toujours ressenti le besoin de m'engager et c'est pour ça qu'aujourd'hui je me tiens aux côtés de l'UNICEF et que j'œuvre en tant que bénévole chez l'association AIDA depuis maintenant 7 ans. J'ai commencé très jeune et je suis convaincue qu'on a tous le pouvoir d'agir. Personnellement, tous les projets sur lesquels je m'engage, je continue de nourrir ma volonté d'aider, d'agir et de contribuer à un monde meilleur. Je pense que l'engagement dans toutes ses formes est une réponse à toutes ces petites incertitudes. Que ce soit dans le bénévolat, dans des projets environnementaux ou juste le fait de défendre des causes qui nous tiennent à cœur. Chaque action compte. Mais il est important de se rappeler que ces engagements-là doivent aussi venir avec un équilibre. Notre santé mentale, c'est la base de tout, c'est ce qui est le plus important. J'ai moi-même traversé des moments de doute, de fatigue, des moments très compliqués et je sais à quel point il est crucial de prendre soin de notre santé mentale pour pouvoir s'engager sur le long terme. En France, je vois de plus en plus de jeunes qui osent, qui innovent et qui se battent pour un avenir meilleur. C'est une source d'inspiration énorme et je suis persuadée que notre génération est celle du changement. Ensemble, on peut vraiment avoir un impact, mais pour ça, il faut qu'on se soutienne, qu'on prenne soin de nous et qu'on reste solidaires. Alors si j'avais un message à faire passer aujourd'hui, ce serait d'encourager chacun d'entre nous à trouver sa voie, à s'engager à sa manière tout en restant à l'écoute de ses besoins. Parce qu'un jeune épanoui est un jeune plus fort et c'est comme ça qu'on peut tous ensemble changer le monde. Je vous envoie plein de bonnes ondes pour vos futurs projets et je vous dis à très bientôt. Bisous.
Et on les prend, les bonnes ondes. This is such a great message. Do you want to add one word of reaction to Paola's message?
Very inspiring, and that's a great confirmation of the power of young people, and they are the future. So please, for any young person is listening to me, never give up, and no matter how small your actions, you will reach your goals because you are a catalyst of a change and agents of power and hope.
Thank you, Muzoon. Do you want to say something?
Definitely. Ladies and gentlemen, change starts with you. But young people watching out there is no better time for acting than now. Thank you.
It's now. I think we are full of admiration for all UNICEF ambassadors and to all young people who believe in their power to change things for the best. A big round of applause for Muzoon and Kozilati. Thank you so much. You can go back to your seats. Thank you. Time now for our last conversation of the day on a fundamental solution to child poverty and child development. I'm talking about social protection. Social protection for children living in underprivileged communities provides essential support like cash transfers, food and healthcare, helping to meet basic needs and basic rights. These programs are key to reduce family stress, protect children from exploitation, and give them a better chance for a stable future. But they can be challenging to put in place, depending on the context and the culture. For this important conversation, I'm very pleased to welcome from the US, representing UNICEF, Natalia Winder Rossi, Global Director, Social Policy and Social Protection. And from Bangladesh, representing the world's largest NGO of the world, the NGO BRAC, Palash Das, Director of the Ultra-Poor Graduation Program. Let's welcome them on stage. Hello Natalia, Palash. Thank you so much for being with us today. Natalia, I'm going to begin with you. In your role at UNICEF, what promising impacts of social protection programs have you seen in transforming children's lives and breaking cycles of poverty? And knowing the multidimensional nature of poverty, according to you, for what aspect of poverty is social protection most efficient?
Thank you very much. It's really a privilege to be here with all of you. If you allow me to maybe start by underlining the main messages that we've been hearing throughout this day, and I think the reasons that we're here. Even though as a community we made some progress in reducing child poverty in the last years, we also have seen that that progress has stagnated, mainly because of the common effects of COVID, climate, and conflict. We lost 3 years of progress just because of COVID by itself. Right now, we have 333 million children living in extreme poverty. 1 billion that cannot access basic services like education, health, nutrition. And this is not just a challenge for low-income countries or fragile contexts. This is a challenge that everybody, every region, every country, even high-income countries are facing, as you well know. At the same time, I think that we are in a moment where we've also putting the issue of we need to have a much more stronger commitment to ending child poverty at the center of our agendas, the global agendas, the Summit for the Future, COP, but also these kinds of forums that are really bringing attention that social protection is one of the elements that we know can make a difference in reducing child poverty. And that this commitment is not the commitment of one agency, of one government. It's a collective society-wide commitment. And I'm very excited to see that there's a lot of those representations during this day. Even though the picture that you see in the slides are critical and daunting, I think as the name of this forum tells us, there is hope, because we do know that they are proven solutions that if they are implemented at scale and with the right design, can make a difference. One of them being social protection. And this is not just because an agency is saying so. This is because of the experience that we've seen in those countries that have moved the needle towards ending child poverty across the board, and because of the very strong evidence that we have built around social protection, precisely, for example, cash transfer programs. I said this in the previous panel, I think social policy, social protection, cash transfers is the public policy that has been evaluated the most. The impacts are very clear. Households that are able to access social protection, cash transfers, eat more and better. They can access health, education, nutrition services. But at the same time, it's a way of minimizing the negative coping mechanisms that many families are sometimes forced to resort in an event of economic shock, like pulling children out of school or selling their productive assets or engaging them into child labor or child marriage. But also, the impacts are not only in the communities that are participating in these programs, but in the wider economy. Access to social protection is enhancing the productive capacity, even of the most labor-constrained, but is also creating this dynamic effect in local economies. And I think that is a very important, message that resonates with many of us. It's not a cost, it's not a charity, it's an investment. And I think a big part of the commitment that I think we need to put in place, and I know that is going to happen after today, is to change also the perspective around child poverty and social protection. There's a lot of myths, there's a lot of misperceptions around social protection. Cash is bad, cash is a handout, cash is a disincentive to labor, and we know on the contrary, it's really making a transformational impact in the family, in the life of many families and children. Thank you.
Thank you so much for these first elements. Palash, you are working in a specific context in Bangladesh. So what positive impacts the NGO BRAC has seen in Bangladesh that demonstrate how social protection can reshape the future for ultra-poor children and the families?
At first, thank you so much. Thanks for having me here. And I think this is a good opportunity for me to share some of the experiences from Bangladesh. Well, I think what social protection did for Bangladesh and what we have seen, say last 10, 15 years, I think it's important to look at the history of poverty in Bangladesh. I mean, what was the situation before social protection in Bangladesh? 20 years back, it was only, access to finance or maybe some bit of development work. But it took us, I think, almost 20, 25 years, starting from the 80s, that only that particular thing will not work. We have to have something that will help all of those the children and extreme poor households to come out and lift out of poverty. I think in 2007 onwards, we started having discussion on social protection. And that was beyond, social safety nets. I mean, you all know that social safety nets are linked to, natural disasters and other kinds of shocks. But the moment we started thinking of social protection, we started thinking of how to protect that particular family. It's so important, how to protect children there in those families. And it took, again, 5 to 10 years to understand how social protection could help the families, all those extreme poor families. I mean, if you ask me categorically, there are 4 positive impacts I can see. The first of all, like in any other developing countries, or the poor countries, the child labor is very visible. After almost 10, 12 years of applying social protection, we have seen now, reduced child labor, specifically in the local economy, in the informal economy. We do see, children are having, good food, better nutrition, access to health. We are seeing right now more and more, people are in school enrollment. School dropout rate that reduced. Only one issue is still we are dealing with. We don't know, how to deal with this. I'm not sure, whether the other countries are facing the same or not. The child marriage, the social protection and the child marriage, I think that is, we are seeing some good results there, but we need to really wait for some time, I guess. And having said that, after, 10, 15 years, implementing social protection program in Bangladesh, we have seen these four results, 4 positive impacts. Without social protection, could that be possible? No.
It's incredible, huh? This is really something we've got to go on this direction. So, Natalia, could you share examples of global social protection initiatives that inspire hope, particularly those bringing the greatest impact on children?
Yes, happy to. But before I do that, if you allow me, I think it's important to also have some sort of a reality check. And that's why I wanted to bring this slide to the attention. Because even though I think we'll agree of the potential, the impact, the transformational power of social protection, currently there is a really outrageous gap in terms of coverage, particularly around children. Only 1 in 4 children have access to any form of social protection, child benefit or family benefit. It's really, I think, in my humble opinion, unacceptable that in this day and age, we still have so many families that cannot access a basic entitlement. And this coverage gap is based due to limited prioritization, political will, sustainability of financing, but also of lack of information of communities and families that are actually not aware that they're entitled to these programs, or that there's too much bureaucracy to access them. And there's more of a discouragement to access those programs. Having said that, there's a lot of, I think, of hope. And I am personally excited that I have been able to lead this work for a while of seeing so many countries across regions and across income contexts that have taken the decision to invest and prioritize social protection systems. And I think and I'll go to the specific message, but one I think key point here, that those countries that have been identifying social protection as a priority did not wait for economic growth. Even in this continent, which are very well-established social protection, social welfare systems, the countries didn't wait for economic growth to happen. They recognized the potential of social protection that could also fuel economic growth, inclusive development. And that's what we've seen in other contexts. For example, in Kenya, where social protection became a core pillar of their constitution. They started with a small program that was targeting, for example, orphans and vulnerable children during the HIV epidemic in the 90s. And now it has become and evolved into a child grant accessible to every child in the country. The same in Mozambique, for instance, that started with a small program, a child grant program that is targeting children from 2 to 0 to focus on the early years. And that already with rigorous evaluations, we've seen the impact that it has on their nutrition, but also on the dignity of families to be able to choose and to be able to take care of their family in the best way they know. I've seen cases where families need to make the impossible choice between, do I buy shoes for my kids? Do I pay their education? Do I pay the electricity bill? Those choices should not be the choices that a mother or a father needs to make, right? So I think it's provide that dignity, that opportunity, and also in contexts that are even more complicated, like Somalia, for example, or contexts that are in crisis situations, or in the Sahel, where there has been a commitment with the support of the international community, private sector, UN agencies, but following the political will of governments that understood the power and the importance of these programs, and found that fiscal space that allowed for that to happen. I always get a question of, well, there's no resources, there's declining, financing opportunities, there's no fiscal space. When there's commitment, where there's will, you find that fiscal space. And I always bring, and I sound like a broken record, during COVID, many of these social protection programs were expanded. Fiscal space was found because there was a commitment, there was a push, there was a voice for many, not only the extreme poor, but everybody in the society that realized the importance of having access to social protection, which is essential for the extreme poor, but important for everybody in these different dimensions. So I think there's hope, and we need to continue enhancing, I think, the capacity of many of these governments that are really looking at social protection and what it is, an investment and not a cost.
Political will, this is really key. How does the ultra-poor graduation program help families not only meet immediate needs, but also build hope and lasting impact for the next generation? And what obstacles do you need to overcome to reach the right families? Palash.
Thanks. I'll take the cue from Natalia. Natalia mentioned about the resource constraint and the priority. I think that was the case, say 20, 25 years back in Bangladesh. I'm sure, that was the case in many countries. I mean, there, say, the extreme poverty rate was kind of, say, 60, 70%. And in each and every household, there are, at least 2 to 3 children. and they're living in extreme poverty. And that time, we came up with this ultra-poor graduation program, and we started working on that. The picture you're seeing right now on the monitor, I mean, this is a product of 10, 12 years, in fact. When we started our program in 2002, that how to reduce sustainably the extreme poverty, specifically targeting women and children, we didn't have that all the answers that time. We slowly started building with that. And that time we realized that something must be there to build synergies between social protection and all the existing development programs. I mean, if you cannot align those, and if you cannot have those synergies, and if you cannot come up with the program targeting women and children in the extreme poor households, it's not possible to lift them out of poverty sustainably. As of now, what we see, on the monitor, the 4 pillars we try to connect with each other. That the financial inclusion, say that livelihood promotion, then social protection is pretty much what we try to say, services, what we receive from the government, and also social empowerment. The moment you put all of those 4 pillars together, immediately we know that it's not only about the basic minimum needs, it's beyond that. And the model we do follow is try to identify what are the activities we do need to sustain, to have the sustained kind of a phase for those extreme poor households, targeting children and women there. Then from there, you have to then say, reach a point from there they can grow and they can have the big push. So as of now, in 20 years, ultra-poor graduation program, through this program, we have lifted around 2.3 million households, extreme poor households. And what we have seen is that, in all these shocks like COVID, health shocks, and other economic shocks, and the climate shocks or natural hazards, these ultra-poor graduation program, they have maintained, that did not, they have not fallen back below the poverty line. 97% of those ultra-poor graduation, the participants or the beneficiaries who came out of that poverty, they maintained that. They didn't fall back. I think that is what we wanted to see through this ultra-poor graduation program. But it's easy to say, but the thing is that every time, every year, we try to revisit our program. We want to see what are the new things are really there. What are the new activities will really help to strengthen the linkages between social protection and all other programs. As Natalia mentioned, it's not only about having access to health support or access to education, but you need to ensure that at the household level, or children without family, they are doing, or maintaining that thing in their personal lives. So the behavioral change, awareness, those are the key issues we focused on. Second thing is that, I think it's important. We have evidence also. Say, social protection in some places of Bangladesh, social protection support and services were extremely good. But still we found that not all the communities or the children that do have access to that particular the social protection services. Why? One of the key reasons is that did not have that information. So disseminating right kind of information to them has been proven as so critical, one of the so critical elements. So we had to also tackle that. So having said that, ultra-poor graduation program, this is a holistic program. We do revisit every year, and it's important that social protection program must be aligned with all other programs, what we have on the ground. Finally, I would like to really say is that engaging youth and the community is the key. In any poor country, don't expect that the government and the system and the structure will come and help you. If you have the community, if you have the young people in helping you, in supporting you as a part of the program, that will do the miracle. Thank you.
I think you both agree on the holistic approach, for sure, and the fact that we can't silence this young generation. They've got a voice, and it's very important to listen to them. And listening to you both, we understand to what extent this question of social protection is absolutely unavoidable. So do you have a message to convey on this subject to political decision makers and field actors? And try to be a little bit quicker, yeah, because we are running out of time. Yes.
The time to act is now, as our colleague said.
We
have this small windows of opportunity. Yeah. Social protection becomes interesting during crises. It's a momentum where it comes back to the agenda and people start talking. And this is the moment to not only talk about it, but to be more sustainable in the kinds of investments that we're doing. And making sure that we have systems that work, systems that are inclusive, making sure that every child, regardless of where they're coming from, is systematically integrated into these programs, children with disabilities, girls, etc., migrant children. Systems that are shock responsive, that are able to respond to crises when they happen, to climate, to conflict, and they're swiftly able to provide that support. And systems that are sustainably financed and are looking at context-specific way to create that impact. So let's just start scaling up that commitment, scaling up those words that we say, and learn from the different models that we've seen across the different sectors that it's possible. The North Star is there. There are different pathways to get to that North Star. It's important to start moving in that direction.
Very good.
Well, I have a couple of things to share here. The first one is that when it is about, say, as Natalia mentioned and other speakers also mentioned, don't wait for tomorrow, don't wait for others. Like, I mean, it starts with you, and it starts with your community. Having said that, what does it really mean? I mean, the first of all, for the policymakers and the, say, perhaps development partners and the private sectors, it's important to understand the context where you need to invest. If you don't understand the context, then there is a chance that the effectiveness of any effort or any investment would be lesser. So it's important to focus on that. And at this moment, it's important to understand the vulnerabilities of the community, of children and the women of these extreme poor households. If you don't understand the vulnerabilities, it will be impossible even to come up with a right kind of program design. So that would be my request to the policymakers and the development partners. For younger generations, what we have been seeing is that the whole accountability somehow is missing. We talk about the money, we talk about you must do this, you must do that. But the accountability at the community level, where is that? I don't think the current system and structure, what you do have right now, that is going to ensure that accountability. Mm-hmm. I think the young people thinking about your future, thinking about the future generation, and we need to really build the accountability system to ensure that the social protection works for the say extreme poor people, and that's the way we'll be able to take care of that whole intergenerationality of the poverty and the intersectionality within it.
Thank you very, very much for both of your testimonies and these complementary perspectives. It is so very interesting to have a global overview as well as an approach rooted in a specific context such as Bangladesh. So a big thank you to Natalia Winder Rossi and Palash Das. Merci beaucoup. Formidable. Thank you so much. Mesdames et messieurs, avant d'avoir le grand plaisir d'ouvrir la finale de notre concours d'éloquence, il nous faut conclure cette session sur la jeunesse, une jeunesse profondément porteuse d'espoir. Juste avant d'accueillir la directrice générale de l'UNICEF France, Anne Avril, pour son discours de clôture, je vous propose de découvrir quelques témoignages d'enfants qui ont été récoltés à travers le monde par 20 Questions the World, une vidéo qui nous permet à nouveau de mettre la parole des enfants au cœur même de notre forum. On regarde.
Je vais te demander de fermer les yeux et d'imaginer que tu es dans 100 ans dans le futur. Qu'est-ce que tu vois?
Que cierro los ojos de verdad. Okay.
Well, also ich denke mir, dass die Welt sich viel verändert hat. Déjà, je verrais des animaux beaucoup plus souriants, des gens beaucoup plus accueillants. Ich sehe nur Könige und keine Armen. E che c'erano pure i bambini che sono a scuola, che studiano cose nuove.
Et c'est quoi ton plus grand rêve?
Dream. Helping. I just want to help people.
Mon plus grand rêve, c'est de partir avec un camion autour du monde et aider les gens qui ont besoin d'aide.
That everyone, there's no one homeless on the streets and everyone feels welcome.
There wouldn't be conflict and everybody would just get along, but everybody would still be different because if you aren't different then life is just sort of boring.
Dass halt alle Menschen ein bisschen gleichberechtigt werden.
For everyone to be happy. Happy and healthy.
Well, my greatest dream is to save the planet, really. Yeah. And not only in a nature way, but also in a humanitarian way. But sort of make up this amazing idea that will completely make the world peaceful and respecting to nature and one another.
El mensaje que tengo para vosotros es que os cuidéis los unos a los otros y os queráis.
Ils sont formidables. Mesdames et messieurs, merci d'accueillir chaleureusement la directrice générale de l'UNICEF France, Anne Avril. Je vous laisse vous installer au pupitre.
C'est mieux comme ça. Chers amis, bonsoir. Il me revient de clôturer ce premier forum international de l'enfance et je tiens avant tout à remercier très chaleureusement chacun d'entre vous pour sa participation. Et bien sûr, Radio France, de nous avoir mis à disposition cette maison ronde si propice aux échanges. Aujourd'hui, nous avons abordé une question qui exige toute notre attention, celle de la pauvreté infantile. Les témoignages des enfants et des jeunes, mais aussi ceux des experts l'ont montré, la pauvreté n'est pas simplement une question monétaire, mais une problématique bien plus large qui impacte tous les aspects de la vie d'un enfant et chacun de ses droits. À l'UNICEF, nous sommes bien placés pour savoir qu'une enfance marquée par la pauvreté peut entraîner des problèmes de santé mentale, des difficultés scolaires et des liens sociaux fragiles. Un enfant vivant dans la pauvreté est confronté à des défis qui touchent tous ces domaines, les enfermant durablement et parfois irrémédiablement dans un cycle de vulnérabilité. Les témoignages courageux de Racha, Muzoon et Nkosi nous ont permis d'appréhender la réalité des enfants livrés à la pauvreté, mais aussi, pour rester dans l'esprit de cette maison de la radio et de la musique, d'apporter une formidable note d'espoir à cette journée. Et je vous promets que ce n'est pas la dernière. Nous devons investir, nous le savons, dans l'éducation, dans la santé, dans la nutrition et dans la protection pour créer un environnement où chaque enfant a la possibilité de s'épanouir. Je me réjouis aussi que cette journée ait également mis la parole des enfants au cœur des échanges, car l'une des clés pour améliorer la situation des droits de l'enfant est d'écouter la voix des premiers concernés. En intégrant leurs opinions dans nos discussions aujourd'hui et dans nos politiques de demain, nous pourrons formuler des réponses plus justes, efficaces et durables. Pour infléchir l'avenir des enfants, c'est maintenant que nous devons agir. Je crois qu'on vous l'a assez dit aujourd'hui. C'est bien tout l'enjeu de ce nouveau rapport sur la situation des enfants dans le monde 2024 de l'UNICEF. normalement, vous avez un QR code et je vous invite à le consulter. Il sera publié demain à l'occasion de la Journée internationale des droits de l'enfant. Ce document a été travaillé avec de nombreux enfants et jeunes et leur voix se fait entendre à presque chaque page. Il met en évidence que les droits et la vie des enfants se trouvent plus que jamais à un tournant décisif. Il examine les forces et les tendances qui façonnent notre monde aujourd'hui et le rôle crucial qu'elles joueront dans les 25 prochaines années. Je voudrais que vous reteniez de ce rapport 3 méga-tendances mondiales. L'impact de la démographie, l'impact des crises climatiques et environnementales et celui des technologies. Elles auront des conséquences sur la vie de chacun, mais comme toujours, elles impacteront évidemment davantage les enfants. La démographie. D'ici 2050, le nombre d'enfants dans le monde restera stable, à environ 2,3 milliards. Mais leur proportion et leur répartition variera considérablement, selon les sociétés et les régions du monde. Dans certaines, ils représenteront moins de 10% de la population, soulevant des questions sur leur visibilité et sur leurs droits. Dans d'autres, avec d'importantes populations d'enfants et de jeunes, le défi de répondre à leurs besoins fondamentaux sera prégnant. Aussi, pour tirer parti de cette transition démographique, il est fondamental et urgent d'investir davantage dans la santé, l'éducation et dans les compétences, dans ce qui forgera l'avenir de chacun de ces enfants. Les impacts environnementaux. Les changements climatiques, la perte de biodiversité, la pollution transforment déjà notre monde et leurs effets s'intensifient. Nous l'avons vu aujourd'hui, les enfants en particulier sont plus vulnérables sur ces impacts. Les déplacements des enfants sont directement liés à ces risques. 2 chiffres pour réaliser l'importance de ces défis qui nous attendent. En 2050, 8 fois plus d'enfants seront exposés aux vagues de chaleur et 3 fois plus aux inondations. Alors pour y répondre, il est crucial de prendre en compte les besoins spécifiques des enfants dans les stratégies de lutte contre le changement climatique. Cela fait partie des enjeux que porte l'UNICEF en ce moment même à la COP29 à Bakou. Enfin, la technologie. Cette méga-tendance d'avant-garde transforme déjà nos vies. La connectivité, l'intelligence artificielle, les neurotechnologies ou encore les énergies renouvelables peuvent révolutionner l'éducation, la santé et sans doute aider à atténuer les effets du changement climatique. Cependant, elles nécessitent une gouvernance adéquate pour éviter des effets négatifs. Il est primordial de combler le fossé numérique et d'améliorer les compétences digitales des enfants et des jeunes, sous peine d'accentuer des inégalités déjà existantes, notamment dans les régions où la proportion d'enfants va croître. Par le passé, il faut le reconnaître, nous n'avons pas su véritablement en prendre la mesure et encore moins protéger les enfants de l'impact de ces avancées technologiques. Je pense particulièrement à la gestion des écrans ou encore à celle des réseaux sociaux. Cette fois, nous savons et nous devons agir différemment dans un bien meilleur intérêt pour eux. Les gouvernements et le secteur privé doivent investir dans des technologies protectrices et adaptées aux enfants, tout en veillant à leurs droits et en renforçant des lois contre les risques liés aux technologies émergentes. Les parents, les enseignants, les éducateurs, les référents ont aussi un rôle majeur à jouer pour mieux accompagner les enfants et les jeunes dans l'usage de ces technologies nouvelles. Nous vivons dans un monde marqué par des transformations rapides, qu'elles soient démographiques, environnementales ou technologiques. Ces changements représentent autant de défis que d'opportunités pour la génération montante, qui se fait déjà entendre apparemment. En effet, mesdames et messieurs, avec ce rapport et ces recommandations formulées encore une fois avec les opinions des enfants et des jeunes, l'UNICEF met en lumière des leviers d'action que les gouvernements, le secteur privé, la société civile et que chacun d'entre nous peuvent utiliser pour prendre conjointement des mesures respectueuses des droits de l'enfant. Ensemble, nous devons créer un monde où les enfants sont non seulement plus protégés, mais également plus valorisés et plus entendus. Alors, un grand merci aux acteurs publics et privés d'avoir participé à cette journée. Merci aux partenaires de terrain de nous avoir transmis votre expertise. Merci aux bénévoles, merci aux équipes de l'UNICEF France de faire vivre les droits de l'enfant sur notre territoire et de veiller chaque jour à leur respect. Merci aux différents prestataires de nous avoir aidés à organiser cette journée et cette première édition de Hope by UNICEF. Merci à Radio France et à ses équipes techniques. Merci aux intervenants et aux animateurs qui ont rythmé cette belle journée, et particulièrement à toi, Frédéric. Merci, enfin et surtout, aux jeunes et aux enfants d'avoir témoigné et de nous avoir rappelé notre responsabilité d'agir, de nous adapter et d'innover. Alors, et enfin, je vous le promets cette fois, après cette journée d'échanges intenses, je vous propose de laisser le dernier mot à la jeunesse. Écoutons maintenant ce que 4 talentueux jeunes ont à nous dire de leur vision du monde de demain. Et ensuite, pour clôturer cette journée intense, je me réjouis de laisser la scène à 2 autres très grands talents, Gauvin Serres et Eddy de Préto, que je remercie très chaleureusement de leur présence. Bonne journée et à vous de jouer. Merci.
Merci. Merci beaucoup, Anne-Avril. Merci pour cet appel à l'action et à la mobilisation. Et bravo pour l'organisation de ce forum Hope. Un forum qui, vous l'avez compris, met à disposition toute une série d'outils dont peuvent se saisir celles et ceux qui veulent agir en faveur de l'enfance défavorisée d'ici et d'ailleurs. En résumé, je vous rappelle les immanquables, la consultation nationale des 6-18 ans qui est parue dès ce matin, le nouveau rapport 2024 sur la situation des enfants dans le monde que l'UNICEF va rendre public dès demain, le tout nouvel observatoire des droits de l'enfant, il y a aussi la fresque des droits de l'enfant, enfin, vous pourrez retrouver tous ces éléments sur le site de l'UNICEF France. Mesdames et messieurs, cette belle journée n'est pas encore terminée, car on a bien l'intention de finir en beauté avec tout d'abord la finale du concours d'éloquence organisée en partenariat avec l'association Eloquentia. Et puis juste après, nous aurons la chance d'assister à un concert exclusif avec la présence exceptionnelle des artistes Eddy de Préto et Gauvin Serres. Un immense merci donc à tous les intervenants. Merci à vous, vous qui êtes très engagés au quotidien auprès de l'enfance. Et donc vraiment, vous êtes une grande source d'espoir et nous en sommes très reconnaissants. On se retrouve tout de suite dans environ 10 minutes pour un grand moment de suspense et d'émotion avec les 4 finalistes de notre concours d'éloquence. À tout de suite.